it looks really orange on the video. It looks really like yellow in person, but this looks like movie orange juice on the feed.
Movie orange juice.
Mm.
Well, I hope it's delicious. Welcome back to this new episode.
I didn't realize you were going.
How's it going, George?
It's good. I mean, yeah, what more could you ask for other than a bad glass of orange juice and 30-degree weather in a country not built for it?
Yeah, no, we are cooking alive. Every second the camera gets redder as it burns and my flat burns down. I wish I could open my window so bad right now, but we'll be all right. I can see in the distant background of your shot, cropped on stream, but I can see the little Dyson fan thing.
Yeah,
just pissing out some whatever that is.
Yeah, coming in real clutch right now. Yeah.
God damn, jealousy. What have you been watching, George?
I have been watching a bit more of Stranger Things. Not as much as I wanted. I'm only in season 2 still. But I was reinvigorated when I've heard people saying how good the new season is. So I'm looking forward to going through more of it.
Fair. Ain't nobody got fucking time for that. We've also been watching The Boys. How did you find the big finale of The Gentleman? I
really liked it because this season's been good, as well as the last 2 seasons. I feel that this last episode it was a highlight of all the stuff I do like and the few things I'm a little bit kind of more lukewarm on, where there's the thing where it tries to have as many storylines as possible of all the characters it's set up, but there are just some that are so much less gripping than the others, where it's kind of unfair to compare any character's storyline against what they do with like Homelander.
Yeah.
But I don't know. For me, the last few episodes especially, with the stuff they do with A-Train, it just seems very like not in the way of it's how this works, like this is how the story should go, but it falls into that like predictable generic version of the storyline they're doing, where it's like, oh, okay. And it doesn't seem like there was a proper end point with this season, where someone like Huey's story, it kind of goes how you'd expect it, but at least they have like the full arc, and he has this moment in this last episode where it resolves. With A-Train, I feel like there isn't really that moment. It's just kind of there midway through it, and they'll have to continue it next season.
Yeah. I mean, you'd almost benefit from A-Train's, arc. What happened in the episode prior to this? There's like a big reveal moment in the episode prior to this. You'd almost benefit from just taking that and moving it an episode along, just so that you can solve it all in one go next season, rather than having to, it felt like it ended too late for his story. And by doing that, it meant that nothing was resolved. It kind of just had started again. I agree with that.
Ironic.
Yeah.
You'd say you'd transplant that moment to this next episode.
Yes, I very much would. No further spoilers to be said.
Yeah.
What else do you think about it?
Everything else, it's just good, isn't it? I mean, the Huey and Butcher stuff is great. Homeland is great. Jensen Ackles is the actor's name, right, for Soldier Boy? I've never seen him in anything. Haven't seen a single episode of Supernatural ever. But I thought he was really good in this, and I really like the take on Captain America just being like a bitter boomer, basically.
Yeah.
He's just
because it's
angry
accurate.
and pissed.
It's exactly what the real Captain America should be. But
that moment in that episode where he's in New York and he's just looking around and he sees like the two gay dudes, he just sort of goes like, fuck, like that. All those moments like that is just so perfect to a guy who isn't with the times and all that. So all that stuff was great.
No, it's awesome. I also like special mention from me is the it's so easy. What we're going to talk about today, obviously Thor is our big movie of today. Direct comparisons between like how Thor structures action versus how the entirety of that big finale fight in The Boys is like everyone has very specific roles to play. Everyone has the right amount of screen time. There's cause and effect to every single moment. It's not just like willy-nilly punching and everyone's happy. It's like really well crafted, like storytelling more than it is fight happening. And some of like the better, TV fights we've probably ever seen, I'd imagine. I think there was one goofy moment that I was like, ugh, and the rest of it was like, holy shit, that's awesome. So really, really big shout out there for that, because that slaps. That is, that is exactly the kind of thing going into The Boys, being treated by real serious like filmmaking talent is a new one, given current state of film and TV right now. But yeah, no, I'm happy with it. I've already said this, but like I kind of felt season 3 a little bit on the slow side at the first half, but I almost think it's caught up to itself, and it almost needed to be a little bit slow at the start, just because of how much shit was left season 2. Because obviously season 1 and season 2 are kind of like sandwiched together, one and part and parcel, whereas this one kind of felt like a standalone. So it had a lot to do. I'm really liking the way it's going, and I will definitely be catching as soon as season 4 drops. I will be catching that. Between now and then, there is that spin-off though that they're going to release. Don't know whether you've heard about that. Some like college thing.
Yeah, and I saw the little tidbit they released about how they're going to like cross over in some way, which I don't really know. That's obviously just like marketing speak, so they get people to watch this show. So it isn't just labeled as the side show you don't need to watch. Or maybe like Mother's Milk will appear in an episode or something like that. Who knows?
And he'll say something that will, rhyme with something in the real show, I'm sure. Like I watched an episode of the little cartoony one that they do, Diabolical. It's nothing to do with the main series at all. Like vaguely it's in the same world. I'm sure you get something out of watching it and watching the other one at the same time. You can pass it. Watch it for fun. Don't watch it because you feel you have to. But yeah.
One last thing
go on.
is just because you were saying you thought the beginning of the season was a bit slower. I think that's definitely true in terms of the pace of the story and all that. But I'd say it probably had my best or my favorite stuff in the season, just because those opening couple episodes where Homelander has to kind of like be on his leash, I found that to be just such a great way to handle the character, considering the first 2 seasons he's a little bit more less disciplined. And that first episode in particular, where you just see him like, having to grit his teeth and just the screw being turned in him for that whole hour. And you have that great little moment where he gets to vent and open up the tap spigot with A-Train, where he just bullies the fuck out of him, intimidates him.
Yeah.
All that. I mean, Anthony Starr, everyone said it. He's so fucking good in the role. It's such an awesome performance. Yeah. What a show. Good show.
No, I'm stunned. It's like maintaining its strengths. It knows what to be doing and it knows how to do it great. It's good. So we got some news, a little bit of news, very little bit of news, because we are in that liminal space before anything big actually happens. Everyone's taking a break, everyone's sleeping. But one of the pieces of news is that Avatar R2 is fucking decades long, unsurprisingly, given that it's taken them this long to make it. Talk me through what our man James Cameron's chatting.
He's just being a bit of a boomer, I think. Talking about how people can't sit still for 3 hours, which I mean, is true. But I feel like it's a false equivalent that he brings up here, where he says, I watch people binge whole television shows in one day on their sofa. It's like, yeah, exactly. It's on their sofa where they're really comfortable. And they're also not watching the whole time. They're checking their phone half the time. They get up to have a snack or whatever. So,
yeah.
I mean, like, it's weird because you and I really do kind of side with him on this, in that, like, you can just sit still for 2.5, 3 hours in the cinema, and we're in our happy place when we do that.
Yeah.
But I feel like this isn't how you win that war, by just calling people lame.
Yeah. I think, it's that thing of like, there's nothing inherently right. Like, your movie is not worse because it's 3 hours long. It is just like, I don't know. It depends how big the story's going to be as well. Like, and until we've watched it, we're not going to know. So it's kind of a null thing of like, and he even says in this quote where he's like, I can almost write this part of the review, the agonizingly long 3-hour movie. He's like, I'd imagine it's a PR thing of like, movie's long, you got to make a comment about the movie being long before people go in so that they know the movie's long. And that's it. that's like the whole point in what he's saying. He's not really like saying, you know, he hasn't even said that it's like good 3 hours. It's not like it needs every second, you know, which would have been, if you ask me, a much better way of like responding to this. Like, yeah, it's long, but it needs every second of it. Yeah, I don't know. And as you say, super important to remember that, like, and this is probably why Obi-Wan is allowed to be shit and slow, is because when it's on TV, people don't notice because they can walk away, cook dinner or something. Whereas, like, when a movie is slow, you are suspended in a dark room, forced to watch it. So I don't know. It means nothing. Don't get any knickers in a twist. It's all going to be fine. Will it be a good movie? Not necessarily. Will it be a bad movie? Not necessarily. This doesn't make any difference in the verdict. But yeah, so there you go. That's James Cameron's Avatar 2. Holy shit. It's actually happening. When does it come out? I don't even know.
December at some point.
But that's like today. Oh my God. Wow. Meanwhile, onto Thor news as we start to tease.
Wait, hang on. I just realized something. There was that Lord of the Rings thing that came out that neither of us remembered until I remembered it just now. I don't know
Which
if that's
Lord of
worth
the Rings
bringing
thing?
up.
Oh, the teaser trailer of a trailer teaser. Fuck off.
Fucking stay at this industry.
Fuck off. Fuck off. We'll talk about it next week or whatever when they release the actual teaser.
Okay.
My God. The teaser of a teaser. I mean, it looks cool. I watched like 4 seconds of it and I was like, wait, why am I doing this? Anyway, right. Thor news. So loads of shit was cut from the man himself, Christian Bale's performances that he has talked about quite a lot. I mean, I don't want to be the guy, because obviously we've got the whole like Snyder cut. This is the world that forced out the Snyder cut and the 4-hour cuts of whatever. And it's all like grasping at straws, like not, you know, it's that long because that's how much footage they had in the assembly, not how much movie there was. But some of the things that Christian Bale has talked about that he was doing as Gore is fucking sick. Like, I don't know whether you've seen, he talked about the Aphex Twin video. Have you seen that video? It's like a age-old, really great like highlight of music videos. There's like a bit in Come to Daddy where a little baby Aphex Twin is born, crawls out of a fucking fluid sac or whatever, stands up and is this like withered skeletal man, and he just screams at an old lady for like 30 seconds and it goes with the soundtrack and stuff. Apparently that was just straight up gonna happen. Like they had just filmed that and they were gonna do this really disgusting Christian Bale just screaming with a really long contorted open jaw and shit. But yeah, I mean, like that would have been sick. But they cut a hell of a load of it apparently to keep it family friendly. I don't miss it, but that would have been sick to see. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm kind of missing it. So this whole movie, I didn't really care about it. And I went in, I saw it this in the middle of the week. So after the first weekend with all the buzz and people talking about it. So I kind of just like via osmosis, like heard everyone's opinions, which was like, movie's fine. It's maybe not as good as Ragnarok, and there isn't enough Christian Bale in it. So I kind of went in with like knowing those thoughts, what people have, and just halfway through the movie, I was like, oh yeah, that's exactly what's going on here. And I was really struck by that quote there. It's talking about we want it to be a family friendly thing. Because like, holy fuck, it feels like a studio mandate on this movie. It's like this needs to be goofy as fuck with like all these kids being in there and Thor being like extra dumb and stupid and all that. And I can't help but feel like whatever that version of the movie is that they're talking about there would have just been like way better. Yeah.
It's dumb because like Taika Waititi kind of really talked up Gore as like he's going to be the best bad guy Marvel's ever seen, and probably in the script he is, like, because every moment he's being overly like just spooky for no reason, is awesome. Like really cool, conceptually cool, looks very good, well executed, that kind of stuff. But it does feel like, I don't know, there's like a whole scene where he first time unearths a bunch of spooky monsters onto New Asgard. And it like just kind of, he's there for like 3 frames. Then the spooky monsters come out and then it just gets goofy again. You just cut straight to like banterous Marvel fight scene instead of doing like, they literally do the like goofy Jurassic Park thing of like dinosaur in the bedroom meme. But then they just like don't, you know? They just don't. They never commit to like anything when it comes to that stuff. And maybe you're right. Maybe like the whole idea of it being family friendly misses the point in what makes like Taika Waititi's tongue-in-cheek kind of approach to filmmaking. Like it almost, like for me, it was a comedy movie throughout, and you could really tell that it wasn't written to be. It was like told to be.
Well, the whole movie just has this weird air around it of just like all the main people involved just kind of like having a laugh, which that normally comes across quite well in movies where it feels like there's lots of like good energy on set and good joy and everything like that. But this kind of, to me, it felt like they're all just kind of like taking the piss a bit, where they're all just, they know they're making this movie and they all have fun with each other. So let's just have fun while we do this movie. But then the scenes with Christian Bale was like, his idea of fun is putting in a really good performance and being great. So that's what they did on those days.
Yeah.
But it just has this strange air to me of just this kind of like, what would the word be? Just like, you know, self-pleasure in a way, where it's all just like extra silly and they're all just extra aloof and carefree and whatever, and they all have that same kind of performance, like the main 3, like Valkyrie, Thor and other Thor. And even stuff like, I don't know, it is cute, I guess, but the whole thing of like Chris Hemsworth, his whole family just like shows up throughout the movie and things like that. All those little things, it just feels like it's not made to be like a movie. It's like a movie that's an obligation. So they just had fun with it because they needed to make it. Yeah.
It reminds me actually of, do you remember when Force Awakens came out, and one of the big criticisms everyone had was like, oh, it's too like, there's too many like funny one-liners. It's too funny all the time. Like it's too just funny. Like Star Wars isn't funny. Star Wars is about drama and action and space and all that kind of shit. It's like that, except like it's only the funny. And then the few times that there are like filmmaking bits, there's the gore scenes that are cut way too short. And then there's the like overly Marvel Omega produced, like no one filmed it on the day it was made in post by Kevin Feige, like jacking off into a jar. Like that's all there is. It's like jokes, gore, not enough of him, and you know, shit. Marvel blah. I think it really, like, the very least, I always find, and I found this with Ragnarok as well, like, you don't go into a Marvel movie thinking this is going to be like Taika Waititi's like best work. He's doing something he's really passionate about. But at least you know that you'll walk out and like everything will have like a fairly reasonable, like creative timing to it and like comedic timing to it. So I did find it like actually funny at times rather than it being like Marvel funny at times. But I don't know that redeems it as like the best Marvel movie ever made or anything like that. Like Ragnarok actually held up, like stood up on its own a little bit with that on that front. So
I found that there was more kind of like the kind of concepts that popped up that I found more funny. Like when that first shot of New Asgard, they have like the ferry and you see it's a tourist town. I was like, oh, that's a funny idea, because obviously it would be like that, all these like weird aliens living on Earth. But yeah, just all the proper like jokes where they're meant to be, you know, someone says something that you're meant to laugh at. I feel like I didn't really get much out of that. And even something like the Korg character in general, I don't really like. I know he gets memed from Ragnarok and all that for being like funny Taika Waititi character, but that's just like stuff that it just like never really clicks with me. same with the goat shit, where I was like, oh my fucking god, it just annoyed me every
Yeah,
single time.
one too many times that fucking goat meme happened. And it's so, like, that's so... You remember when Fortnite was in fucking Endgame or whatever? Like, it's that same thing.
Oh,
again,
yeah.
Where it's, like,
God.
hilariously out of touch. Like, no one... When did he write this, you know? Probably did literally write it in 2013, but, like, when the fuck was that written? Why was that written? Like, once or twice, maybe, I'd forgive it, but it happens, like, the whole movie, they just replay that joke as well. Of like, oh, it's funny, screaming goats do a scream and it's funny. But no, I think you're right about, like, conceptually, and this is what I think Taika Waititi is actually really good at, is like, the funny part is you can tell it's not the words they're saying, it's like the words on the page that describe something just fucking preposterous that makes so much sense at the same time. And like, I don't know, I'm sat there watching the kind of like faux romance story of the axes and the axe and the hammer, right? And like the lines are really not funny, but like it creeping into shot, you can tell that someone has written that as like a concept, and that is very funny. So I don't know. It's an interesting mix. Yeah. I don't know. Any further comments before we switch to the next news story on this movie?
Or just going back to the funny stuff. I was thinking about this during the movie, where I think it was in the first, the Ghostbusters reboot remake they did, like the all female Ghostbusters, everyone like pissed and shit themselves over.
Yeah.
Where Chris Hemsworth was the kind of like extra character in that, and that was the movie where everyone went, "Oh, Chris Hemsworth, he's like funny." And I feel like that's kind of like steered his career now, where people like really like Ragnarok. I can't remember how much you like it. I'm kind of the opinion it's like fine. I just never really like clicked with it the same way a lot of people seem to. Yeah. I think the thing is, Thor as a character, what they do with him here is like better than he was before, because he was just like nothing of a character. Yeah. He was that like
grey man,
faux Shakespearean, like really bland, whatever. And now he's a bit more to him with him being kind of like lovable, goofball kind of guy. But I feel like it's kind of like it's hitting, rather than 0%, it's hitting like 30% of what they could do with him. And in those moments where they do handle it with a bit more sincerity, like the scene in Infinity War where he's talking with Rocket about like all the people he's lost and things like that. In those moments, in contrast to when he's being funny, they hit like really well, and they're quite. I feel like they're quite impactful, and they do a good job. So then it's a bit unfortunate, I feel like, because Chris Hemsworth kind of has shown he's able to do kind of the more comedic stuff, or maybe he like wants to do a bit more comedic stuff or whatever. They seem to like steer into the goofball Thor a bit more, with like him being extra fat in Endgame, or him just being dumb as shit in this movie and things like that. I think it's a bit of a shame. Yeah.
They kind of butcher it with Jane as well, as a character kind of is awfully upbeat given the circumstances of the character throughout the entire movie. Like, it's that switch of like, okay, now they're going to be Marvel funny for a couple hours. Now they're going to be serious, tone deaf serious. Like the first time you meet Jane in this movie, like there's like just a joke straight away. Like the whole thing is a goof straight away, and you're like, yeah, but she's in literal fucking chemotherapy right now. We're not even gonna like mention that. That's just gonna be passing information until the last line of that scene. You know, I don't know. I just wouldn't. I think there needs to be more air either on one side or the other side. And I think it's probably a problem with the whole thing, really. Like, it's exactly what you're saying about Thor, except it happens to the new Thor. It also happens to Valkyrie as well. Valkyrie doesn't say a single serious line in the whole movie.
Yeah. I was really shocked by her character, because she just like does nothing the whole movie. She doesn't have any arc or anything. They like hint at her having an arc with her not being into all like the bureaucratic stuff of leading Asgard. Yeah. But then she just like that's never resolved. She's just like still doing that by the end, but she's smiling while she does it. So
That's like, it's like an arc is started, and I thought it was like really, because it's visually explained. Like there's not a word that says, well, until like halfway through the movie where she's like, oh, I hate doing the admin stuff. Like you just see her bored spinning a fucking blade. Like where's the fun? Like, and then yeah, they just don't deliver on it. It's just set up. And it's just left. Probably because it's fucking boring, regardless of what you do. Because like, if your character is, they are bored in their place, you need to take them out of it. And obviously by default, she's going to leave it. So there's kind of there was no arc in the first place. It just existed. We're just peeping into this character's life. I don't know. Yeah. So I think I agree with you. I think tonally you get something out of watching it. You enjoy it for several reasons, all different. And tonally, it never really commits to just one and does one really well. Like none of them are great because not one of them is great, you know? I don't know. Yeah. In other news, and this fucks me right off, is fucking in a one of those annoying, we're gonna do the breakdown thing of, we're gonna circle your favorite scene from this new movie that you haven't seen yet, that isn't out yet. And they just like, you know, they goof on it or whatever. Oh, this was so funny when this happened because there was this man with a paper bag on his head the whole time, whatever. In this one, they very, very, very unfortunately dunk on VFX artists quite heavily. Like, oh, that's you know, that's not very good. Haha. I can't remember the exact comments or the exact moment that they're highlighting and circling, but they're quite intent on, why is, you know, I think it's Korg, isn't it? It's the like, oh, he's quite blue in this scene, but he's grey in another one. I wonder why he's grey in some and blue in the others, taking the piss out of the VFX artists. When obviously at the exact same time as this interview going out, whistleblowers talking about how much Marvel are like literally the worst client to work for because they overwork the shit out of the VFX artists. I don't know. People are losing their minds over this interview purely because of that. When, for me, like, Taika Waititi is a funny guy. He's going to take the piss out of anything you put in front of him. So if he's nipping it in the bud, like, oh, someone might ask this question, someone might ask this of me, then he's going to make the joke before the person asks. What's tone deaf about it is that, like, no one in Marvel's PR team were like, hey, this is a really bad time to say this. Because it's not directly his fault. Like, he is not the sole producer of this movie. He hasn't come up with the deadlines for this movie. He's not paying anyone directly. It's not his fault. It's just a tone deaf joke. Yeah. What were your thoughts on this? And, you know, even the VFX and editing of the whole film in general.
Yeah, I mean, just for the interview first. I mean, I think you're right. For me, I read it more as just like an unfortunate bad look where it is going to be more him being a bit more like self-effacing as the director, being like, oh, that's me, maybe like fucking up a little bit and not paying as much attention to the movie as I should have, which again kind of feeds into what I was feeling before. We're saying how the whole movie just kind of feels like it was handled like with a bit of a shrug by the main people involved, like Taika and whatever. But yeah, it is a problem what's happening with the VFX industry and how long it's going, and it doesn't really seem like any change is going to be happening anytime soon. Maybe not. Maybe unions will be formed, but I don't think Taika should be burned at the stake for making a joke about what he intended to be more reflecting on himself or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, in terms of the VFX of the movie itself, I feel like it was just kind of like, again, the standard Marvel thing of it's filled with so much shit, but there are those few moments that people are able to kind of pick out and meme. Before I saw the movie, I did see one shitty screen grab someone had taken from their phone or something with Heimdall's son, and like, holy fuck, that scene feels like a shit post at times.
Yeah,
like that effect of his head bobbing. I mean, what were you thinking seeing that?
It's not even like the VFX aren't the problem, right? The actual like the how they've pulled that off. So I mean, I wish I could shove a screenshot up on the screen, but we didn't know that we were going to come to this. But like, so he's like a golden haze doing his eye magic shit to speak to Thor, right? The point is that it's not fully fleshed out, his powers, so he's only a chunk of a kid rather than the whole kid stood in full form. But what's goofy about it to me is not the VFX at all. It's the plate that the VFX goes on top of being so fucking wide when they knew it was only going to be half a face or like 3/4 of a face. Like you get the fucking a human adult size shot, and you have in like basically the top right corner of this shot is just a disembodied face just floating. And again, like the actual finish of the effects, like hazy kind of gold hue, you know, whatever he's like phasing into existence. That would have been fine if they had just cropped in a little bit more and made that center of the shot. It would have been fine. It would have looked like, you know, dumb VFX floaty head shit that is in everything. Every science fiction movie has it. It's, you know, holograms, all that kind of stuff. But it's just the way it's framed and the way they composite it into the frame is just like, you literally, this is an 100% CG shot, presumably, or 100% VFX shot, where you have your green screen plate of your kid or your rotode plate of your kid, and then you have the background plate. Whether the background plate's even real, could be a rendered environment, who knows? The point is, you had any opportunity to go, the framing on this is fucking dreadful, and you have 100% freedom to completely change it. Like, you just move the 3D camera. Like, that's what stuns me about that moment, is I'm looking at it like, Jesus, how did this get through this many people? Because surely someone was like, Like, even if it was like, I don't even think the shot's dirty or anything. Like, it's not like an over-the-shoulder shot of Thor looking at the kid. It is just a front-on shot of the kid, poorly framed. And I think that's what stressed me out the most about it. There was quite a lot of that kind of what felt like temp VFX in there, and I'll mention a few in a second. But any comments on your stress that came from seeing that on screen?
Well, no, I was going to say, it reminded me, it's like pure Teletubby shit, that with the baby face son thing. Like, legit is just that. It was so bizarre. But I just remembered now, I'm sure this is what you were going to bring up, what you were just saying. Like, we were talking about that shot I saw in one of the trailers with that scene where Thor and Jane meet each other. Like, holy fuck.
Jesus. So this spins off not only that discussion from the promo pic that we saw, or the promo moment in the teaser that we saw. This spins off into linking in the what's the guy's name? Is it Black Bolt from Doctor Strange?
Oh, yeah.
It's all the same and it's all bad, right? So the helmets in this are kind of scary levels of like lack of quality assurance. Not just Thor's helmet, but like Natalie Portman Thor's helmet as well. Throughout the film is scary bad. Like, the tracking is bad, and the shading and stuff, it's not even close. So the shading of the actual model is fine when it's being tracked on. What you have then is you have like a weird space where the eyes are supposed to see through it, and they like did nothing to make it look like the shot behind it is right or anything like that. Like, they didn't add any shadows or anything to the eyes. They're just like stark. It's like someone slapped a bitmap over the top of it and just tracked a mask on top of it. And that is every time it appears in the movie. Every single time either of their helmets appear. And to me, again, it's that thing of, and Thor like literally changes clothes for no reason, like twice in the movie as well. And that stresses me out because of the Black Bolt theory that we had, because it implies that, yes, what we said when we saw that teaser of like, oh, this is probably a comic costume that screen tested well and they wanted to try it out. Like, it implies that they went through as many models as they possibly could to find the one that looked right for the moment, and not in like a story right for the moment, but in like a fans will love this right for the moment, and wanted the opportunity to completely change it if they needed to. Like, I wouldn't have been surprised if they fully pulled a Sonic and like did the teaser trailer, because the teaser trailer came out at some like convention before it went live, right? Like, comes out at the convention, the cheers are lower than they should have been when Natalie Portman's Thor is launched. So they swap the helmet out, make her look even cooler, or it needs to be shinier, or it needs to be more like the comic one, or whatever. Like, that freaks me out, because that happens like one too many times in this movie. And it's not even like Black Bolt convincing. It's like just fucking bad at times. So that was pretty stressful. I'm sure you were saying you were about to come to it. Like, do you have any extra thoughts on that? Because there is one more scene that just freaked me out to no end as well. But go on.
Well, I was thinking about, like you're saying, there are moments where Thor just like changes costume for like absolutely no reason, where it just feels like peak action figure, like George Lucas prequel trilogy shit of we just need merch, where he has like his like, he has his winter Thor outfit, and then he has his blue and gold outfit, and there's like no discernible or no actual reason that you'd need like either of those, or why he isn't just in like normal Thor get up or whatever. But even something like his goofy ass helmet that he has, I feel like he only has it on in like that one scene where he meets new Thor. It's like, what's the point? If anything, having him not have the helmet compared to her as new, what he'll be feeling a bit more insecure about replacement Thor, having her be the only one to have a more like classic Thor helmet. Yeah, surely that would hit that beat a little bit better, or support that idea a bit more. And obviously you get more of his reaction, his like, over-the-top silly reaction to seeing Jane, whatever. So it's just very odd, all these creative decisions. I don't really understand them. Yeah.
Well, there's two fundamental flaws with that. As you just pointed out, the performance is inherently worse because you only see half of his face. The fucking mask is terrible. But actually what you need to remember as well is that like he would be more shocked by her wearing a helmet, because basically in the two movies that they're in, does he even wear a helmet at all? I don't think he does. In the first Thor, he doesn't wear a helmet. I think he kind of does for a minute or whatever, just to appease everyone.
It did that thing that lots of superhero movies did in the 2000s and early 2010s, where it was like ashamed to be a comic book thing. So they like had it for a scene, like you say, to appease comic fans, and then never had him wear the Thor helmet ever.
So why bother now? You know, why would he pull one out now? Did he wear one in the last any movies? I don't think he did. Probably again for like a scene or two.
Yeah, I'm just remembering Ragnarok, he has like a cool helmet that he like shifts into place, and again he probably wears it for like a scene. Things like that. So
just seems dumb. So that seems dumb. And then I don't know. It's just kind of that whole thing implies a lot of things that I shouldn't be sat there in the cinema thinking about these things when I'm watching this scene. I should be like, oh, he's seeing Natalie Portman for the first time in ages. But I'm not. I'm thinking like, God, why is he wearing such a stupid costume? Why did he just change into a stupid costume in that scene?
And also it commits the cardinal sin of the yassification, the nanotechification of superhero costume, especially in fucking Marvel. You and I have bitched about this before, but how like that, the lack of tangibility in these costumes when they just like, it's digital shit where it just like appears over someone's head like Natalie Portman's does in this movie. It's just so lame.
Yeah. Well, but except it's not digital shit. It's Viking magic shit where I don't know. I'm thinking to that. I need to go and see it again if I'm gonna like make a serious comment on this. But I'm trying to remember the moment when he changes costume in that scene, because he arrives in a different costume and then he kind of goes to try and flex on them and changes into the new sparkly one with the purple and the jaggeds or whatever, the blue or whatever. I'm fairly sure that just happens. Like, I don't know there's even a shot of like Chris Hemsworth going like, time to change, and then changing.
Yeah, no.
I think it literally, he just looks, it just happens around him, and then he carries on talking as if nothing had happened, implying that it wasn't even scripted or anything. It was just like, it'd be cooler if he was in a different suit right now. oh, how do we get him to change? There you go, he changed. Nanotech
it
bullshit.
feels like it's missing that anime villain moment where he's like, I'll have to use 20% of my power or some shit, where he switches into like proper Thor costume. Yeah, there's just none of that.
And you could have made a joke out of that.
Could
have made it really funny, but
yeah.
I don't know. The other bit that viscerally offended me, and it only viscerally offended me because it still looked shit, even though it's very clearly stylized, is the sun god that Gore
oh my god,
prays to at the start. Like, stylistically, what the fuck are you even trying to do? Like, literally, what are you even trying to do? Because no matter what your style was with that, just didn't work. Just the execution just did not work. That just looked fucking awful.
Fucking horrid. The moment where he spoilers the first 5 minutes of this movie, where Gore's being held up in the air and he kills him. The fucking blur when everything falls down, when it collapses, is just fucking disgusting. The same, actually, there was that horrible motion blur in that panning shot of the God City. I don't know if you caught that. We were meant to be marveling at the incredible golden architecture.
You just can't see it. I don't understand.
You can't see a fucking thing.
Why is every movie like this? I mean, I guess the VFX artist is trying to match the motion blur of the original take. And if they get a shit original take with like hella motion blur, then they're gonna, do that. But I don't know. I would prefer to be like, oh, it doesn't look like they're there, and then actually be able to fucking see what you're trying to show me, rather than that. Maybe it's just our cinemas as well. Like, I literally have no idea what it could be, because it happens like every Illumination movie looks like that all the time.
No, that's just Illumination, where they have that shit motion blur effect, where it just feels like the frame is being interpolated. It feels like they haven't been animated.
Yeah.
By the time that's just how they do their shit. I was thinking that though, this movie, where the sound was incredibly weak in my screening, to the point where I was convinced it must have been like the cinema itself. I refused to believe a Marvel movie would come out with so little punch being put into its sound at times.
No, I think sound was like mostly fine my end. So yeah, sounds like a cinema problem. No, that shit is stunning. And again, given the fact that probably about 5 shots total of the whole movie are like real, I'm almost at the point where it's like, why do you even bother filming it anymore? Like, I'd much prefer you to just not, and just like, give your VFX artists twice the amount of time and just make it an animated movie, and it would still be just as cool because it would look just as real. Like, if every time an actual human is on screen, something goes wrong with the VFX in this movie. And that is just like, if you're a live action movie, you can't fuck up the comp at the end of the day with the real plates, right? It just cannot happen. That's the one thing. And big love to all the underpaid, overworked VFX artists, but like, Jesus Christ, their manager needs a fucking slap, right? Or the producer, he keeps slapping their manager's manager, needs a fucking slap. Someone needs a fucking slap. Always someone needs a slap, but good God. Pet peeve for you as well. It did the fucking, the Suicide Squad with the music. And it really annoyed me. Because they kind of went like, oh, Guardians of the Galaxy are in this. That means that excuses me doing Guardians of the Galaxy's whole bit. But it does it worse. And instead of it feeling like a Guardians of the Galaxy, like the soundtrack is written into the script kind of feel, it's just like obnoxious. Every other 5 seconds is another song that just because you know it, and not really because it has a huge amount of relevance to the story or anything.
I was imagining James Gunn watching this in either some their final producers test screening or like the premiere or whatever, and just having to like really awkwardly sit in his chair and like talk to Taika after and go, oh, it was really good, and just do that thing where he has to like hide all the actual criticisms I'm sure he would have, especially like watching his characters on screen at times, for the 2 minutes they're in there. Sorry, this is a sidetrack as well. The whole, like, everyone talks about how the last movies they've done since Endgame have felt so like pointless and rudderless at times. But holy fuck, is that no more true than this, where the end point of Endgame, they set up the cool, fun idea of like a whole movie, basically, or at least a substantial part of a movie with Thor chilling out with the Guardians of the Galaxy or whatever. no, that's completely tossed aside where Taika Waititi's like, I'll take this first step you had and then throw it away as soon as I can in like a Rise of Skywalker
take 15
way.
minutes to write it out. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, oh my God.
Yeah. No, that fucking annoyed me, freaked me out again, because it's that thing of the cardinal sin of writing of like, hey, remember that time when and they just list an exciting adventure that would have been way more fun to watch than the movie you're watching right now. They're like, oh, another classic Thor adventure. And we only see one classic Thor adventure in the whole movie because the other Thor films have been fucking wank when it comes to that point, right? Like Ragnarok isn't him having a wacky adventure. It's him literally getting trapped somewhere. Like that's not, you wouldn't class that as a certified Thor epic moment for the montage, whatever. You certainly wouldn't classify the first two as that. So like you can't tell us, oh, you know, Thor goes on all these epic adventures and then show us only one and it be like subpar, whatever. No, nothing. It's not that fun for us to watch.
No, there was a hell of a lot of that tell don't show going on in this movie. Although it's funny, we were talking about the style of these movies. There are those clips at the beginning where it like runs through all the stuff that's happened in the past other 3 Thor movies and the Avengers movies, and it like, has actual clips like, from the movies. And I was thinking like, wow, these really do all look like they come from the exact same like series of films where they like look exactly the same, plastered next to each other, which is like the curse of the Marvel movies, I guess. Well, they have to have that style forever and always now.
Yeah, filmed in the house style. All the actors don't age anymore as well. Like literally, it is what it is. I didn't even know that it was like plates from the original movies. I thought it was like shot fresh for this one. Naively, that's how much it looks like the same thing again. Again, like Marvel movies, like I don't know. I just enjoyed the popcorn. Although I got a large popcorn and a small drink, and I really fucked myself with that because I was thirsty as hell. Still have half the popcorn in my kitchen right now.
Damn, that's going to be stale as hell. Yeah, you're never touching that again.
Yeah, no.
Should we go over any of the good things we had to say about the movie?
I mean, most of my good things are just like Christian Bale being a good actor. Not even a good character necessarily, just a very good actor.
Yeah, I mean, he really does nail, because he has even with what little screen time he has, he does have quite a few like facets and turns he's able to take. Like that, that scene where he's like evil Mr. Rogers with the kids. That could be so intimidating, like lame. Just like, oh, you need the plug-in villain scene here, but he just sells it so well. Yeah, he does that little presenter thing where he has his like fake puppet or like creepy snake thing, kills it, and his turn where he has a frown on his face and he goes back to being intimidating with that. He's just so fucking good.
But again, that annoys me because like just let him do that for another 10 minutes of screen time and I'd have been happy. But I don't know. That was a really good moment.
Like we were just saying about that, there's lots of tell don't show. They have all the stuff in the beginning where it's like they have their news feed on the Guardians of the Galaxy ship, where it's like you're seeing all the gods that have been killed and everything like that. I feel like even the most like generic Marvel modern action fantasy whatever movie, you'd have that extra scene plugged in that shows Gore going about doing his butchering before whatever god he's about to kill says, you won't get us all, Thor will stop you, and then like you do a bit with there, then that turns him onto his main side of the story. There's like not even that scene. It's so weird how little he's in it.
You could even just do like a montage. You're basically doing a montage anyway by having them swipe through a bunch of clips of the same thing. I don't know. So that is a double-edged sword because it is very good, but it is also very frustrating. It's one of those like shouldn't be in the movie because it's too good for the movie kind of things. What else was good? I did think that like I don't know how to say, like, I don't know the wording of this, but like the tone of the whole God City thing felt inappropriate for Marvel, but was very like good. Like it felt like a scene out of The Boys or whatever. It could have been a scene out of The Boys. and it would have fit way better in The Boys or something. And I think like big man Russell Crowe being just funny, just like the whole point in the character is just so fucking stupid that's really funny to see him do. That was apparently in concept. He was just going to be the devil. Do you see that?
Oh, really? No, I didn't see that. That's funny.
Which, how the fuck that would have fit? I'm glad they changed it, but yeah, no, that was funny. And it kind of like going back to the thing about The Boys. I wonder if The Boys enabled them to do something like that, because like I don't know, like even there's a line about an upcoming orgy. Like that crosses a line that I don't know Marvel has done yet. I mean, Marvel has the like tongue-in-cheek, dumb shit lines that are a little bit too far for the kids or whatever. But that felt like extra plain and obvious. Like that wasn't like a cool hidden adult jokes in your favorite cartoons moment. It's like an actual, like he just outright says, yes, all the superhero gods have big fucking orgies and we're about to have one and you're not invited next. You know?
Yeah. And then 2 hours later, you've got drives home from the cinema where 6-year-olds asking their mum what an orgy is and things like that. But yeah, it speaks to the whole weird tonal contrast thing of even the conceit of it trying to be like a fun 90s rock music thing of like Guns N' Roses, like all that. Like when you think about like 90s rock and it's all like sex, drugs, rock and roll, all that shit. And then it's got the added little more horrific or horror moments with gore, and it's got the mentioning of orgies and stuff like that. But then the movie chooses to focus on like children and goofy shit and like a bunch of kids helping Thor in the final fight, and a little girl has a toy bunny.
Yeah,
it's like, what the fuck is going on? It's so weird. But yeah, Russell Crowe really was fucking awesome. I thought it was so fun. But even that bit where he's like being like chastising lecturer to Thor, he's like, no, come and speak in front of the whole class. Yeah, say what you need to say. And shit like that.
He has to really slowly shuffle his way over and shit and walk out in front of everyone. And even like you know, he was like, I'm assuming you stayed for the credits, obviously, because that is like half the point in any of these movies anymore. Like even when he is faced with a script that is very, very obviously written by like a marketing team to do, something completely out of character. I mean, he literally fucking died in the movie, as far as I can tell. He literally fucking died, and the marketing team just kind of undied him for the end scene. Yeah, I don't know. Like even when he's delivering that, he still has that, like, I don't know, maybe it's because of Marvel and shit and like bringing in randoms who, you know, just celebrities that you find funny or find cute or something. But he is like just a fucking good actor. And like his delivery in that is like up there with, maybe it's his accent as well. Like just the whole package deal of his character is like a top tier thing in the movie, I think.
Again, where he has that moment where a little bit of sincerity comes through, where he goes up and like talks to Thor like hush hush, and there's a bit more real with him. It's like, yeah, I'm a bit scared of the score guy, but you know, we're safe here, and I'm not gonna let anyone know I'm scared. So get fucked. And he goes back to his big, more charismatic, terrible Greek accent performance. It's like so much fun.
Yeah.
That just to go back to the end credits thing. Like, end credit scenes have never actually been good. I'm trying to think of like one actual end credit scene that hasn't felt like it was all filmed in one day and put together by an entire like fifth unit, never mind second unit.
Yeah.
But like, holy fuck, all the end credit scenes that have been coming in the last few years have been so fucking terrible. And they all end so abruptly. That first one where, I mean, I don't even know why I'm bothering to avoid spoiling it, but like that character appears played by that actor, and it just ends like fucking that. Like,
yeah,
so
you get
quickly.
like 6 frames of this character.
Oh
and this
my
actor.
God. It's like, I feel like I wouldn't have even known who that was if Twitter hadn't told me last fucking 5 days straight, 24/7.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they're so fucking bad now. It was like rivaling that Morbius one I was complaining about, which would like really end suddenly. That one was fucking... No, they're all shit. They're all bad.
Yeah. Of course, like I'm thinking back to my favorite ones ever that they've ever done. Because we've already talked about it's a commodity now. Like the commodity isn't the film, it's the cameos and it's the post-credit scenes. And there was even a fucking article that was like, here's what you need to look out for in the cinema. And it's like, fuck off. I'm thinking about the really good ones, and the only really good one I can think of is the one at the end of Avengers, where it's just them eating shawarma because it's been like set up earlier in the movie, and it pays off in the end credits. You get nothing else other than a satisfying end to a little joke, and you know, you don't feel like you were wasted time. You know, you've sat to the end of the credits and you get a little thing to send you out with a little smile on your face. That's what it should be. That's, you know, they originally come from, or like the most iconic one ever being Ferris Bueller telling you to fuck off and leave the cinema, right? Like that's the type of shit. When was it that the fundamental paradigm shift happened and caused like groundbreaking information to be reserved until after the credits? It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, I'm just cycling through. Well, obviously, there are like 20 plus movies to try and think of, so I can only think of so many. But I'm trying to think of which ones actually have something that's important involved. I was thinking about, I'm pretty sure it's the end of the Captain America Winter Soldier. It's where the end scene shows that Quicksilver and Wanda, that like introduces them, how they're like, they say they're twins that they've been testing on their abilities. And that's more like a serious one where it sets up that they'll be in the next Avengers movie. And that one actually works. Like the scene has a little bit of time to breathe and like ends on like a beat of like Wanda's like playing with some cubes, is just being weird. And at the very end, she like smashes them together and it's a bit more like, there's a bit of impact to it.
Yeah, there's a little bit of spice.
But like, yeah, I'm trying to think of the last one of these that was like that, where it was a serious scene, actually has, you know, story implications. And didn't just feel like rushed. Like I'm like Captain Marvel. There's the one where she shows up and talks to like other characters, but again, that's like super rushed. Where she just like appears and then that's the end of the scene.
Yeah.
I think it's like we've been tricked into thinking that's what these will be, but they aren't. They really are just worth the single clickbait headline that you'll end up reading anyway. Yeah. So what's the point? But we end up staying anyway.
I mean, I think like another example of like, if you want to do it seriously, but you want to do it well, even your like first phase 1 ones, where it's just Nick Fury going around the whole party, like saying, hey, putting together a team, blah, 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 you know, because then you rile up the fans of who know what's coming, and no one loses anything by watching it. Like, and they didn't feel rushed either. They felt like they were actually like shot, you know, thinking Iron Man 1. Like the way that is like stylistically put together is in keeping with the rest of the film. Like, you know, because he's all silhouetted, isn't he, in the fucking apartment asking, or am I thinking Iron Man 1 or am I thinking Iron Man 2? I can't remember.
No, that's Iron Man 1. Where Nick Fury's like off by the window. And Tony Stark's like, who the fuck are you? Yeah. And I know that this is Jon Favreau and this is like the first ever before the series or whatever. But like, it's in keeping with the not the house style, but the actual film style. It's like part of the film as a little extra. You won't lose anything by not watching it when Avengers does come around, because you get introduced efficiently to every single person in Avengers or whatever, you know. So I think it's just now the given is you will not only watch the film that came before the film you're watching now, but you will still be in the cinema by the end of credits, because again, that's what you paid for, right? Like you get nothing much out of the actual film experience. You paid to transition from one film to another. That scares me. And also the main purpose of those end credit scenes was to introduce that idea or build that familiarity of these movies connect to each other in these ways, that they have this shared character that wouldn't make sense to pop up in the regular movie. So we have this extra scene that we'll attach as an addendum to tell you or remind you that this is part of a larger thing. We all know the Marvel movies connect now. Like the fucking, not one of these movies other than fucking, what was it, Eternals, where it was all just building 20 new characters. Every one of these new movies post Endgame has another major Marvel character come in or be a part of someone else's story. Whether you have in Shang-Chi, Doctor Strange is in it at the end. or Spider-Man, Doctor Strange is in it, or you have this with Guardians of the Galaxies in it. So like, we all know that these movies are connected to each other. It's the whole joke how it is like Marvel movie 27 is what's out in the cinema now. It just seems like a thing of they're doing it because that's like tradition and not because there's a point in doing it. So it ends up having that feel of being an obligation.
Yeah. And it probably is an actual burden on shooting. You know, you have to schedule in probably a very, very famous actor to come and arrive on a set day that is in the middle of them filming another movie, in the middle of you filming your movie. So it probably is an actual burden, not just on the story and on the film, but on the production as well. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I haven't walked out of a Marvel movie like content in a very long time. It's been 4 years or whatever since Infinity War, and Infinity War left me content. Did Infinity War have a post-credit scene?
It had, it had just the one. It had the bit where Nick Fury dies, and then the Captain America buzzer pager, Captain Marvel pager thing happens.
Yeah, and probably skip it. I mean, no, you can't, because like Endgame is fuckily written at the very start. But you know, you could have skipped it. And then obviously Endgame didn't have a post-credit sequence. As far as I remember, they made a whole big deal about that. Like, this is what all of them have been building up to. So this one doesn't have one. And then obviously the next movie does. The next movie does. And the next one does.
Yeah. I also associate that Infinity War one with nothing but bad memories, because I've pitched about this to you before. The whole thing of in my Infinity War screening, or our screening, I had that really annoying girl sat behind me who kept like kicking my chair and doing that thing where she's like a performative, like she needs everyone to know that she knows what's happening. Where like the Captain Marvel thing appears on the pager, and she just like spends the next 10 seconds just like, oh my god, that's Captain Marvel. It's like, shut up. Yeah. We don't care that you know, and we all know anyway. So like, what is happening?
Yeah. Imagine a world where people didn't know as well. Can you think about that? Imagine a world. I reckon we'd be in space by now. People didn't know. People, again, it's that thing of like, it gets people to Google it. It's like, oh, I wonder what was on that pager at the end. And then some fucker out there is like, well, it's Captain Marvel and they're the best superhero in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and they might be turning up in the next movie abruptly with no reason to be there. And, you know, all that kind of shit. Like, just let me live. Why can nothing just stand on its own legs for once, you know?
No, like annual meeting reports and like project reports, they'll boast like the man hours put into a project that's been worked. We should do that for a number of man hours that have been spent Googling obscure or not well-known Marvel characters and like what those hours could have been done to bettering our society.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know the total hours on that, to be honest with you. I don't know I could ever calculate it. Probably way too many. Like actual lengths of like empires in ancient history have probably been spent on just Googling obscure Marvel characters. What I do know is the amount of time. I could give a pretty accurate estimate of the amount of time it takes copywriters to write that article every single time. And it is fucking milliseconds. I reckon everyone has a template. Like, who was that in the post-credits scene? They just literally swap the names out. I can guarantee that. That's your screen rant fucking top tip of the day. How to become successful movie journalism. Just, you know, explain fucking endings all the time in the same words. Right. I'm dry. I feel dry inside, as I always do leaving Marvel movies. And I don't fucking hate them. They're not terrible. I still get my cinema flick with some popcorn, and I get to see, goofy Chris Hemsworth making out with a hammer, or like, you know, there's always like something. But fuck me, is it like hard to... As soon as someone starts like, do you like Marvel? I'm like, oh, please fuck off and never speak to me again. You know, like if that is your conversation, it's what happened in the fucking credit scene of a thing. Like we do this because we're obliged to make a podcast out of it because it's a big new movie.
Obliged.
We don't like, I wouldn't spend my fucking life theorizing about what the next suite of Marvel movies would be based on the fucking end credits of the thing. And that's what freaks me out about the cinema experience when it comes to these things. Because you hear them doing it on the way out. You hear them. You fucking hear them. They're real. Those people exist. Oh,
They're out there, hiding amongst you and me.
Ugh. We started on Star Wars fans. Now we're on Marvel fans. Where's next? Tune into the fucking post-credit sequence of this episode to find out. Oh my god. Yeah. Any last words, sir?
Yes. Well, two last words, or two sections of last words. Number one, Michael Giacchino needs to learn to say no. This must have been his like 6th or 7th main big budget. Maybe that's how many would it be? Off the top of my head, Batman, Lightyear, Jurassic World, this. I know he did something else as well that I can't remember now. But holy fuck, he's been doing so many scores. And this one in particular, it just like felt so funny. And in the credits, you see it's like Michael Giacchino and someone else whose name I don't remember.
Yeah,
like, okay,
with a different music editor, with a different fucking that made me sad because also like I don't want to be a dick, like his like rock and rolly shit, it's not very good. It sounds like a composer doing like a traditional composer doing rock and roll. Like, oh, we'll just put in a fucking standard like boom ka beat, and then we'll just like I don't know, someone can play fucking like power chords on a guitar and it'll sound good, right? And it's like I know that is what like half the real like production music stock tracks in this movie, like licensed tracks in this movie are, but they were doing it live on a stage in front of a bunch of people who were there to see that kind of music. You're mimicking something that is meant to be a showy kind of, I don't know. He didn't sell it for me because he's usually quite like charming and jazzy and stuff, and it just sounded like they got him because he said yes, not because he was the right guy for the job this time, or not because he had the time to be the right guy for the job this time. But
and the other weird thing is like Thor's one of those characters where he just like doesn't have a theme, and the music in the first two, I think it was like a proper like Brian Tyler role or Brian Tyler Bates, whatever, like those two, like they probably like switch between the first movie and the second. But everyone really likes the music for Ragnarok done by Mark. I want to say like Mother's Ball, something like that. I can't remember. He did the music for the last Ratchet and Clank movie. I remember.
Fact check.
Everyone said,
fact check. Ragnarok composer.
It's a Mark M.
Mark Mother's Ball. I don't know.
I was close enough.
His
Mark
second name. 22 Jump Street guy. Oh shit! Wait, he's cropped up multiple times now. This is we mentioned him on a different episode. Guaranteed. Interesting.
You gonna try and do we have enough time for you to find that? Are we bringing this now?
No. Someone, you know, if anyone cares, they can find out. All I know is he did Alvin and the Chipmunks Chipwrecked.
Let's go. So yeah, weird they didn't get him back after they seemingly found a sound for Thor. And the other thing, what the fuck is Marvel doing now? They have their She-Hulk show coming out, which just seems like the most typical Marvel Disney Plus show, which is just here's 6 weeks of content for us to put on that means actually nothing.
Yep.
And then they've got the Black Panther movie, which we know like literally nothing about other than fucking Black Panther can't be in it, obviously.
Yeah. Black Panther is fucking dead, yeah.
It is so weird how it's like two ends of the extreme, how they announce all their projects so far in advance and they just like let them sit for ages, where the first Thor trailer came out like 2 months or like 2 and a bit months before the movie came out. And they're just going to do the same thing with this movie where we know fuck all about it and we just need to be reminded it exists. But then it will still make $1 billion. Like this will get close to $1 billion, I'm sure. It's like, yeah.
I don't know. I don't even want to say it's like a sorry state of affairs because like it isn't, you know, this is the natural extension of your blockbuster, right? Is this? I don't know, man. I just don't understand how people can like care. Like my parallel I draw is like you walk out of Dwayne the Johnson Rock skyscraper. You're not like, that's not one of those ones. That's maybe you like you're a 12-year-old and the car ride home with your dad is like, oh, it was so sick when that moment happened. Oh, it was so sick when that moment happened. What a great father-son bonding experience this was. Sitting in a dark room together watching a sweaty man fall off buildings. And then it's like, you get home and that's it. It's gone. Fuck knows what happened in that movie. And that's fine, because that's not what you went to the movie for. That's what this is now, except people do care and they're freaks.
Yeah, that's pretty bleak. I mean, there's the whole thing of like competition breeds innovation, but there's like no stopping the MCU now. They can just coast for like a decade probably and still make these movies and rake in money every single time and turn a profit.
And it's got worse with the TV shows and the Disney Pluses.
Oh my fucking God, yeah.
Like, because then they have, like, as we said earlier in the thing, when we were talking about Avatar being long, like, a slow movie is worse than a slow TV show, because you know that all you have to do in your TV show is do something big at the start, big at the end, so that someone remembers to watch the next episode, and whatever happens in the middle doesn't fucking matter. And that is the mantra, that is the motto of Disney Plus shows right now.
Yeah, people have said that the new Miss Marvel show is apparently one of the better offerings, got a bit more charm to it. I'm obviously a bit pessimistic of that, but I think when I hear it's all out, I'll give the first episode or two a go. I'll check back in and see if it is all that and a can of Coke or whatever the saying is.
I heard similar, except a lot of the things that people were raving about was like, oh, this character showed up. And so that kind of makes me not give a fuck. So we'll see. Or this character got referenced. But then again, for some reason, I'm a magnet for fucking like horrendous Screen Rant articles about just that. Let me, here you go. This is a fun way to end the episode. We're going to get up my Google News right now. We're going to swipe one too many times. The Dark Knight Rises ending explained. Batman ends. 10 cringeworthy classic Superman panels. Come on, there must be something. 10 most disturbing things about Wizarding Society, according to the ranker at Screen Rant. They always put according to ranker in the fucking headline. Like, why would you even bother? You just say Harry Potter top 10 most disturbing things about Wizarding Society. There's a picture of fucking a house elf. So they're on the right track at the very least.
Number 1, slavery.
Yeah, let me fucking tap it. Let me tap it. We're going to scroll to the end of this article and we're going to see. Okay. Number 10, no one can be trusted. Number 9, the education system is broken. Come on. Number 1, gotta be fucking slavery. Gotta be. Here we go. Yeah. Oh, number 2, slavery is normalized.
Whoa,
what the fuck could number 1 be?
No, have you seen it? We need to guess what number 1 is. What is worse than slavery?
Yeah, what is worse than slavery?
I mean, they're bigots towards Muggles or mudbloods.
That's come up in the list before this.
That's has it?
A little earlier, yeah. Third, in between. So like the wizards may once have frequently murdered Muggles is only number 5. So like racial genocide is only number 5. Above that, wizarding trials are a sham. So like they reckon the trials and the justice system, twice in fact, because also the penal system is overly harsh. So occupying 2 spaces is the justice system in the wizarding world. And that comes after genocide of an entire fucking race. So God knows what number 1 could be. Are you ready to find out? You want to hit a bet up?
What would I even say? No cell phones in the wizarding world. That's my number 1.
No, love potions are assault. Number 1. So
interesting.
Worse than fucking genocide, worse than slavery, worse than a justice system is the fact that it's kind of noncy to give someone a love potion.
Well, is it not the idea that like you take a love potion, like you drink it yourself, and then that makes someone else fall in love with you? I'm guessing or assuming that's the idea.
No, I think you have to spike someone else. So it's literally just spiking. I mean, that's pretty fucked. Don't get me wrong. Like we're comparing like, they're all pretty fucked things. There's a lot of fucked up shit in the Harry Potter books. But I don't know. Maybe I would have led with genocide and slavery probably being the worst things for the wizarding world.
I have a final idea for something that could maybe be terrible, like maybe just cut this and end on what we just did. Have you done Framed today?
No, I haven't. Should I do it right now?
Oh, yeah.
Here you go. You said cut this and do this, whatever. This is the post-credit scene.
I have to like make the lighting like 10 times worse. I need to be in like shittier outfit. I need to like look like I've just been...
Zoom in on your phone.
I need to have a Costa cup where I've just walked on set in the morning.
Yeah. Anyway, some poor VFX artist has to paint it out. Okay. I'm looking at the Framed.
But you need get the screen up. Get the screen up on the...
Get the screen. Oh my god, this is a full on... We need to start a Patreon or something and get a fucking... This is bonus features. I have no idea. It's just a fucking bowling ball.
Yeah, it's a thing where like if you've seen the movie, you'd know basically. Like this was in my group that I followed with like a lot of ones.
Okay, I'm gonna take a random stab at a movie I haven't seen.
I can't see the typing. Letters are too small.
I fucking got it in one. Wow.
Let's go.
That's it. I walk. Thank you, everybody.